Dynamite down.
Thank you for tuning in to Dynamite Download, you little puppies. You are lapping
What
up
is up, everyone? Love that intro, Mind Runner. That is actual photos of us during our modeling career days. So we're a blast from the past that we're pulling out of the woodwork for you. But what's up, man? Dynamite Download 148, hot off the press off of Grand Slam. And whew, I can't wait to see this 2-hour block that we got out of New York this past yesterday, Arthur Ashe. So, I mean, before we dive into that, the whole show, do you think it was a grand slam?
I think that the entire, I don't want to judge completely based on just last night's show alone.
Yeah.
I would like to reserve my final judgment after Collision and Rampage. However, I felt like they definitely pulled out the stops. I felt like there was a lot to love. There were a couple surprises. There were some cool moments, and there were some good perpetual storylines. So overall, yes. But I think the Grand Slam, I think the real big stuff is going to happen on Collision. But I was very impressed. I left feeling pretty good about last night.
Yeah, I started a title match, then another title match, then another title. I was like, damn, this is. They kept adding more matches to the overall card. I was like, wow, man, they are building this up. TK is cooking with this card and just adding more and more for that 2-hour block. And as a fan, if you're there live, which I'm sure the fans were eating it up, they got a treat. They definitely got a big treat. That many great top tier matches. And one thing I want to say is, compared to other Grand Slams, is I really like their setup this year. And even though it's fit for a much bigger crowd, with 8,000 guest attendees that they said are on there or more, but they shrunk it down to make it more intimate, even though it is a nice size crowd for AEW as of late. But the way they did it with the shorter entrance ramp, a little less production, and it made it feel that much more bigger. Smaller made it feel bigger to me.
Yeah. And again, to the naysayers out there that like to show the hard cam side of the arenas and say, "Oh, there's nobody there."
Oh, how fun!
There 360. They had 360. They were packed to the rafters at Arthur Ashe Stadium. It was great to see, and they were there. There was a lot of good pops here and there. There was, I think that Hook's Uncle Paulie was at ringside. There was this guy that was killing me when in the corner he was like a leather jacket and he like, "Hey, Scabagoo, what do you?" It was really cool. A lot of cool stuff. Great, and of course the Raz is here to say a great show last night, and Bobby's in the house. But I thought there was a lot of cool stuff, and I think you're absolutely right. It somehow shortening the ramp made it seem like a bigger show. It was weird how that happened.
Exactly. And I liked it a lot. And I liked the setup. Commentators were right there tight ringside as well. I always like when that happens. And I think like it was just a crisp show. As we talked about in the past of more promos and segments, this featured way more wrestling than anything. There was very few segments on this Dynamite. So we kind of flip-flop. And we had some outstanding matches. I mean, we're talking... Like, I can't wait to talk about that tag match because it was just absolutely incredible. And Nigel McGuinness kicking things off was a great show. But before we dive into Dynamite, let's do it. This is the first episode after we drafted season 4. So one show under our belt, Dynamite. We still got Rampage and Collision ahead of us this week. So, but let's see where we're at with the rankings.
Yeah, let's see where we're at, SPD. I'm gonna put SPD shades on Vincent Price for the next promo.
Yes, please do. Your boy SPD is coming back with a top score right now. And, I haven't looked at any spoilers or anything. Obviously, Rampage and Collision are not live this week. But when we touch base next week on Dynamite Download episode 149, we're going to see, I think everyone's going to have some points. I mean, it's going to be anyone's ball game. And this is what I expected with points very few and far between with this deep of a draft. And so I'm sitting at the top of the crown or the top of the pyramid there with 3 points. The old Mind Runner tag team trick worked in my favor this past week with the Young Bucks. And I mean, on Team SPD, I got essentially 3 true tag teams if Mark Davis does return. If that was a shot in the dark, so we'll see. And but it's working so far for SPD.
Yes, and anything can happen. I am not fearful, as we have seen in seasons past. Anybody that's sitting at 0 could be the winner. Anything can happen. We've got a long road. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and anything can happen. But I'm happy for you that the tag team thing worked out for you. So good job.
Oh, is this my BR, man? Is this my congratulatory first week victory? It's like week 1 of fantasy football victory.
I guess so. Here we go. Congratulations. When SPD's at the top, we got to have the confetti.
Yes, sir. Thank you, BR. Appreciate that for the support. I guess he is a team baby face right here, like SPD is, and appreciate that.
Let's go. Super chat party. Thank you.
Speaking of super chat parties, I think we should just start off with the Young Bucks match because best wrestled match of the night, in my opinion. And I felt like this one was just placed perfectly in the card, and it was just delivering. And I would just every single time I'm in or watching a Osprey match, I'm just like, by gosh, man, is there anyone better than him? I mean, it's incredible the stuff he can do, the counters he can make, the agility that he has, the blending of styles that he can go against. It's just like, it's not fair to be like that. And it's like, I paused it and I just like rewound the one move where it's just a backflip twist, just standing there, it was not a moonsault or not a run there. He does like a 360 twist with a backflip. I'm like, man, I wish I could do something like that. Just incredible agility and stuff. And I saw a tweet and I thought it was, really, I should have saved it, and completely agree. It's like Osprey singles match, 10 out of 10. Osprey's tag team match, 10 out of 10. Osprey's, trios match, 10 out of 10. Like, it doesn't matter where you place him. It's just like, he's going to deliver on every. And I felt like the chemistry with these two guys and the commentator team did a good job of saying that Fletcher and Osprey, they've never been like versus the Young Bucks in a tag team form. Yeah. So I was all for these guys. I was like, man, these guys are like natural tag teams. Granted, they are trios together, but like I could see them as a, convincing true tag team. Would I want to? Maybe down the line, but I feel like both guys are doing some great stuff on their own. I would be all for the reuniting of the United Empire. Yeah. But this is the Young Bucks are continuing to put on banger match after banger match. And I like where they've been the last month or so with what they've been doing and using up some of their limited dates at some of the more epic events at AEW. So Young Bucks in their limited dates, hopefully they signed a contract extension to add more dates because they're doing some great stuff in the ring, and I want to see them more and more in the ring. And they're on Team SPD's fantasy team, so I got to get me some more points. But these guys are showing why they're the champs, and they're holding the gold and doing it proud. The kickouts. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. The kickouts. And of course the power of the pearls.
The power of the pearls.
Jackson had the pearls in his hair.
Maybe I'll do that next week in my hair. I'll put some pearls in my hair.
Put some pearls in my hair this time. Fantastic. I mean, again, the Young Bucks are continuing to just, thumb their nose and give all the haters the finger, but continuing to just put on banger matches. They're the tag team equivalent of, in my opinion, Sammy Guevara, where, it gets a lot of unnecessary hate in my opinion, and then goes into the ring and just like shuts everything down. This was tremendous from start to finish. Of course, you knew it was going to be anything with Will Ospreay in it. I like how Dave Meltzer is now considering having a separate category of 5-star matches and then 5-star matches without Will Ospreay, so that you could just have, so it could be a little bit fair. And Kyle Fletcher did a great job keeping up with Will Ospreay too, his tag team partner, and he was really doing tremendous things in the ring as well. It's one of those things where if it wasn't for Will Ospreay, this was a great moment too. That was fantastic. That was tremendous. We love that. Kyle Fletcher, if it wasn't for Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher would have looked better because he was doing tremendous stuff. But then you got Will Ospreay, this superhuman, not of this earth athlete. They were working well together. I loved that I loved all the spots, all of the kickouts. I also love the aftermath. We are really starting to tell the story of Don Cal, and I was wondering if we were going to get something last night, but I think they're breadcrumbing the return of Mark Davis. I think we're going to see Takeshita stick his nose in this whole thing, and I think we're going to see the reformation of not why I keep calling them United Kingdom, but we're going to start seeing Aussie Open's going to get back together. We're going to see this whole trios together, and then I think they're going to end up feuding with Don Callis. Will we see Will Hobbs return? That's going to be a lot of stuff going on. But as a match itself, it was everything you thought it would be with the Young Bucks versus them. The only tag team that I think that was put on a better match with the Young Bucks is the Lucha Brothers. I think that's the only team I could say. And again, that's talking about Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher not being a regular tag team.
Yeah, and we talked about, we knew this match was going to deliver just from pure talent level. And our little, rib nuance of not a true tag team winning the Casino Gauntlet. But now that that's in the past and this match happened, it was worth every doubt per se or maybe light frustration, we'll call it that. Mm-hmm. And I think this delivered that, and it gave us like an absolute epic match. And honestly, like if you weren't going to run back like an FTR, if you weren't going to do I would like to see them versus the Grizzled Young Vets. Like if you weren't going to do one of the more top tier caliber teams at this marquee event, then doing this is a perfect alternative. But I want them to start focusing on their true tag teams, like we saw in our intro, MXM. We still have, if the Acclaimed are going to be a true tag team, are we going to see maybe the Guns go back to a true tag team? I don't know. Top Flight, like we need to start establishing these two tag teams, and I think one of the double-edged swords to me is like you have these like awesome tag teams, but they're kind of getting formed into a group or trios or a 4-man group, and then you kind of almost forget about them as a true tag team. So like I want to see the tag team division like really be urged in itself. Like
get back to where it used to be. When AEW first started, that was its biggest thing. I can see that the Young Bucks are going to go, and again, it's one of those things where like, is Ricochet versus Will Ospreay going to be too soon? I mean, shame on you for giving me a steak dinner on a Wednesday night. Shame on you for this kind of stuff. I thought it was great, but you're right. I think when we're the only time we're going to legitimately see a threat to the Young Bucks losing the tag titles is when it's going to be one of these built-up tag teams. I'd love to see FTR come back and tangle with them. There's a lot of teams out there, but to me, there really is only one tag team that needs to dethrone the Young Bucks. You son of a bitch, who that is. Turbo, Floyd, Truth Magnum, the Outrunners. They're over like Rover. It's time to pull the trigger. Strap rockets on them to the moon. Let's get the Outrunners over.
Is that who you would honestly want to dethrone Young Bucks?
Overbooking.
I want them to have a push like Acclaimed. I want them to have an Acclaimed like push for sure.
Yes. I think though that they're hot right now. They're selling merch. They don't necessarily need the belts right now, but at
Really
least they
oily.
need that shot.
Yeah, I think a title shot would be great, and I think you build them up to get to that number one contendership. Get them more wins, get that wave of people, and let them get that Young Bucks rub, and then Young Bucks still retain. I can't see. I don't know who would dethrone the Young Bucks at this moment, given the landscape of feuds and stuff.
Yeah, and it
That's
could
interesting
be.
to say. Like, yeah,
Let us know in the comments who you think you could see dethroning the Young Bucks. I mean, the go-to answer is FTR, but I almost feel like we're almost been there, done that. I'd like to see. This is why I wish Private Party got a little more. Of course, they're getting a storyline with Moxley. I really would hope some of these old school tag teams got some time. But yeah, Top Flight, are they ready?
I would do honestly. Is if it's either gonna be. I think it's got to be Fletcher and Davis if they're gonna really push them. If they do some kind of those guys Aussie Open,
Mm-hmm.
or it's gonna be a non-traditional tag team, like a. It's hard to say. There's no true like babyface non-traditional ones. I'm throwing in mind like a Hobbs Takeshita type of thing. But that's
Yeah,
two
but see,
heels going head toe to toe. You know.
it needs to be an established tag team, I think,
I think
because
so too. Yeah.
so like and I'm circling back. I'm going to put my money back on the table with the Outrunners. I think there's a
Okay.
path. I don't think it's right away, and they don't have to have the belts for long. But there's the crowd. Imagine the pop, because all this time there's going into the match. No one's going to believe the Outrunners are going to win. Going into the match, no one's going to believe it. And if they get the win, the roof would go off. You can
Yeah, you're
take it
right.
away from them a month later, and give it to Aussie Open, and then have Aussie Open go feud with the Bucks again. You could have the Bucks pull some kind of EVP thing. There's so many things you can do just to get that moment, just to have that pop with the Outrunners winning the titles would be worth just the like the merch sales. You imagine how much Outrunners merch would sell the next day, that night, if they won. Imagine the pop, the news, the hype. Everybody be believable. I believe in the Outrunners, and then you could have them get their asses kicked a couple weeks later. But I think it's time you pull the trigger on your who's hot, and I think the Outrunners are hot right now.
Yeah, the way you're describing it is to me like an Acclaimed thing, Acclaimed resurgence, and I would love to see that because I was so behind the Acclaimed. Everybody loves the Acclaimed, and they delivered so much, and the fans won so much with what that ultimate payoff was. But I think we're still going to see the love and the support for the Outrunners when they get to the top, and then even if they don't capture the gold, I still think that's a huge victory for those guys because they're getting. I listened to the interview with him and Talk of Jericho, and they're in character the whole time, and it's hilarious. And they're talking about some of the matches, like a lot of handicap matches that they're in. They've lost within like 60 seconds, so they've been the old outrunner jobbers, and so for them to kind of turn the page and pick up wins and then crawl your way to the top for the youngest men alive would be a fun story. And I think they're going to start to ride that wave right from Miami Beach to the top. But opening match, Danielson McGuinness, a lot of history with these guys. And I'll be first to admit, I'm not huge into the history with this feud. So AEW being able to resurface some of those clips and put together different montages and really build this one up. And this is long-term storytelling with McGuinness on commentary, the calling the clam digger for months and months and months and months. It could be well over a year. And for this one to finally come to head. And when McGuinness first came out, I honestly thought then he would go in the back and then this would be like the main event. Like, okay, he's not coming back out. I'm going to give him one more chance. And then him come back out, and then it'd be like the main event pop. But the way this whole show played out with the ending of the way it ended, it made so much sense the way they did this. And
Yeah.
so back and forth for a guy who hasn't been in a singles match in over a decade, I think he held his own. And not knowing his true style the way he was, I felt like this was a great match. I think it was placed well on a Grand Slam card versus the pay-per-view card, in my opinion. And I was excited. I was excited for both guys to kind of bring back some of the nostalgic of their feud, and 100% props to the commentary team of what they've been doing with this feud and really being able to educate us. I mean, Excalibur week in, week out is a human in wrestling encyclopedia.
Yeah.
The guy does not get enough credit for what he does to really keep us all at home, informed, educated, and excited for all the matches. So that guy is just top notch. And so this is a cool face off here.
Yeah.
And from where they were to where they are now, towards the end of their careers. How'd you feel about this match?
Yeah, first of all, look at the difference in physique. You know, it's like, look how cut Nigel is versus baby fat, meat on the bones Nigel. That's the Nigel on the top is the pub, you know, drink a pint of lager, you know, whereas on the bottom, that's the grass smoothie, you know, on the below. I was impressed. I of course, you know, I always like the flippy do stuff over the catch as catch can kind of wrestling, but it's the hit, like you said, they did a great job building the history between these two, and it really felt like. And of course, let's be honest, Danielson is on his. This is the Bryan Danielson farewell tour, and he's getting to wrestle. He's checking off all the boxes that he wants before he goes part-time, before he becomes a part-time wrestler. And this was one I think he's wanted to do. And it's great to see Nigel versus Bryan Danielson in this capacity. I know it was a little convoluted on how we got here, and yet, you know, we're going to talk about the Darby Moxley match, but I think this was great. It was important to get this done at the beginning, not just because of what else was going to happen in the night,
right?
But I think it was great to get this out there. It's interesting that Danielson's now, you know, he's coming out to Final Countdown, because I think this truly is the Final Countdown. Yeah, I think this was, you know, they wrestled very similar, and I think this was a good back and forth. And you know, you can give a little bit of salt to any ring rust that Nigel had, but I didn't really see it, and I felt like overall it was good. Was it the best match of the night? No. But it was a nice bow on a feud that's been going for a long time. Of course, Nigel's going to continue to call him the clam digger and what have you. But yeah, it was. I think overall it was great, and I think we are seeing the farewell tour for Bryan Danielson.
Do you think now that war has been declared, do you think Nigel will settle his differences and come side by side with Danielson?
I honestly think Nigel's done. I think if he's going to get involved, it'll be from the commentary booth. But I think that I think that's the most Nigel's going to do.
Okay.
As far as getting involved, I see what you're saying, but I think with war declared, this is going to be now whatever this new BCC is.
Yeah.
Versus Danielson's faction, and and of course we're going to have to see what Wheeler Yuta decides to do here too. That's going to be very compelling. And with more, you know, they've got that trios match coming up.
It's true.
So it's going to be interesting. I got to say, the moment of this match though was they killed each other, and they went back. It was brutal. And of course, Bryan Danielson's clearly hurting. He's barely alive. He barely was able to get the victory over Nigel. He's in pain, clearly in pain. And then Papa Patriarchy's music hits, and out comes Christian. And again, the storytelling tonight was phenomenal. They didn't overkill us with storytelling, but there was so much subtle storytelling tonight that was great. Kip Sabian comes out and steals the pin from Christian, so he can't sign the contract. But then Christian chases after him, and who's waiting for him backstage?
That was like, I popped for that, because when they first did that to Christian, before they turned on Danielson, I was like, did it make a human wall, and he looked like he saw a ghost. And then again, when he said these two guys just lurking in the wings backstage, another scene of ghosts. Like, I feel like they're gonna just keep continuing to be Christian's roadblock, leading up to maybe Wrestle Dream and beyond, and maybe not let him get an opportunity because they want to have that opportunity. But I love that this was an unexpected twist going backstage, and it's man, it's gonna be. They're doing some great stuff with that.
If you can pull that picture back up for a second, like, here's the thing: who are you more scared of, the guy on the right or the guy on the left? It's like, the guy on the right is basically Superman, but the guy on the left is a crazy bastard.
You're right. Knowing what they both can do, I mean, I wouldn't want any part of either of them. But let's stay on the topic of the main event stuff. Let me see if I have the graphic. Let's talk Darby and Mox, because then we could talk about what's going to happen after that. The Darby and Mox match, the main event. Honestly, this could have gone both ways. Like the way it was. Where's that graphic? I gotta find it. The way it was turning out, I thought like the fans were so into this match, and I love the chants of "You can't kill him," and then the way that they were just going back and forth.
Close.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's like
I thought he was going to curb stomp him at one point. I thought that when he put his teeth on the ropes, I thought he was going to curb stomp him. I mean, literally he's bleeding.
20 seconds into the match from the first kick, Darby's bleeding because of a big boot from Moxley. But the resilience, I mean, we're a broken record here. The resilience and the drive and the love for the sport and just the never die mentality of Darby Allin is so fun to watch, but at the same time, it's so painful to watch. I feel like it's hard to speak at times of how much abuse one person can take. And Moxley, doesn't matter if you're Darby Allin or not, he gives abuse to everybody. Look what he did to Preston Vance. I mean, he was just gushing. Look what he does to everybody. So every match he goes in, it's literally like a backyard brawl, bar fight, alleyway. And so they did everything they could, and with the steps and the chairs and the ripping up the mat and everything in between. And I just loved the back and forth of this. And I was honestly convinced. I thought Darby was going to take it. For a while, I was like, Darby's going to win because you feel like this resurgence coming up. And then after he escaped that chokehold where he was like foaming at the mouth, excellent shots by there in the end. And then when he escaped that and brought him up to the top rope, I'm like, he could definitely take this one. But unfortunately, or fortunately for me, Team SPD on Moxley, my first overall pick, Moxley wins. And I think the bigger story is Mox versus Danielson on that. But before we talk about that story, how'd you feel about this main event match?
Well, first of all, I mean, it got grotesque. This was the gore match of the night because it was the grotesque. There was a spot where, like, I thought it was his chain. I thought it was Darby's chain, but it was like spit that would look like a line from his chest to his mouth. That it was just, I mean, it was definitely one of those like don't look away, but you can't look away kind of things. And Darby, that's his gimmick. He's the crash test dummy. But the whole thing with I think it was interesting because if Darby won, then I was wondering if this was going to be like his initiation, and then Moxley was going to somehow recruit him to join this faction. But I think this was kind of a hidden way for them to set Moxley up as Bryan Danielson's opponent in Wrestle Dream. And I'm wondering, is Moxley going to be the guy? Is Moxley the guy to dethrone Bryan Danielson and retire him?
I feel like as much as that story would be very compelling and I would support it, like I was talking to you guys in our private text, and like this too soon. I think it's way too soon for me. He just won the belt not even a month ago. It was maybe a month ago, actually, yesterday or whatever All In was. I think it was the 25th or 26th, something like that. But so he's had the belt a month, and so he's going to drop it in 3 weeks. So not even 2-month run for someone his caliber. I feel like I feel selfishly, I feel like he's going to drop it to someone he respects, obviously. But for him to do it that soon seems kind of strange to me. Maybe there is a rematch with Moxley sometime down the line or what. Maybe this match just doesn't like end clean, because a clean finish by either guy, I mean, it makes Moxley does, then that's it. But if Danielson gets the clean victory over him, then where's Moxley go from there? Like,
Yeah.
does he just want revenge, like a hangman versus Swerve type of revenge? Like they're trading wins and they're just trying to seek punishment on each other. But Crayfish brought up a good point. Like if it's not Mox retiring Danielson or dethroning him, then who? And I still think Ospreay. So I feel like as much as the history between these two guys, Moxley and Danielson, have with each other, I feel like if he's going to go out, it's one of those passing the torches. Now, Moxley doesn't need the torch passed to him. He's the guy in AEW, no matter what he does. He is the guy. Now, Ospreay is the guy as well right now, but to be at the pinnacle and at the top, that will solidify you being the capitalized the guy, the face, and no better person to me than giving that spot than Danielson to Ospreay, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think Ospreay, and then you can run back Ospreay versus Swerve. I think Swerve is another one that you could bring back, but of course we have a feeling we know who Swerve's next immediate feud might be.
We'll talk about that next.
And let me ask you just this though. I mean, some people are saying that Darby will never be a world title caliber. I don't think so. I think he is world title caliber. I think I could see him. It may not be right now, but I think that at some point I could see Darby being of the four pillars, after, since MJF already had the title run, I could see Darby, being one of those guys. But I just, he's got to stop being the crash test dummy, though. He's got to get
like
some
with
more
Sting, he helped out. He slowed down, or he was less risky with Sting in certain levels. But I felt like Sting kind of helped balance him a little bit, and that was that. And now I think he's back to his reckless self. And if anything, I got to say, his TNT title run was fantastic. The way he was putting those matches week in and week out, almost open challenge style, and really having this awesome TNT title run. If he's going to be the face of a company and put himself in that much danger and punishment as a champ, that's a hard pill to swallow, in my opinion. Yeah. I think he does have world champion material for sure. However, you can't be having matches like he just had with like being the underdog every single time. So you want your world champion to be the underdog every single time?
No.
That's a tough thing to swallow. But then it also, as a kid or a fan, rooting for the underdog is a lot of fun.
Let me ask you this question. Who do you see becoming world champion of AEW first? Darby or Sammy Guevara?
Darby.
At this point, possibly. I wouldn't be mad at either, but they've got to rebuild from the ground up. Second question: what are your thoughts on this picture?
It's wild. It's it looks like a scene from Jerry Springer or something.
And of course, I like the nod, the nod to the infamous purple tie from Justin Roberts.
Is that what that's for?
Yeah, I think that's a nod because back in WWE, they used it. Justin Roberts was choked. I don't know if he was choked with his tie or somebody they used a tie to choke him, and it was Justin Roberts' tie. So I thought that was.
I didn't pick up on that. I thought that moment at the end of the match was great. I thought first when I saw something in his hand, I thought it was a bag. I thought it was a bag too. He's going to redo the favor, but the choke was great. And I mean, we've talked about it. Marina Shafir has been doing fantastic stuff, like with her just being this henchwoman and fighting the battles and being the bodyguard of Moxley, which is crazy to think about. But Shafir's role has been played perfectly. I look forward to seeing what she does every single week, even if it's just the nuance that she's walking around the ring or just his side by side of Moxley. Those two pairing together are one scary pairing, and I think it works so great. I love it.
Yep.
And
Keep her
the
off
brawl.
the mic. Keep her off the mic. Just let her stand there with her arms folded, raccoon eyes, and just scowl. And then
I do want to see her get some matches though too.
Yes, yeah, but she doesn't need to speak. She let her early hook. Let her just come in and dominate. And she's kind of got a reboot. She's got a second life now because
you're right.
All of the I want to say botch, but the rocky start she had with AEW. Now she's under Mox's wing. You can have her, almost like, Mox standing at ringside while she's wrestling, Mox being like Kreese from Cobra Kai, finish him, sweep the leg, that kind of shit.
Yes.
And,
or like give the nod and be like, yep, exactly. Finish her.
And she looks to him and he goes like, finish her. And then, like that kind of thing. I think
love that.
And I think what you do is you kayfabe some injuries on her opponents, like have her take some people out, have her injure some people and
broken
have them
arm
go on
or something.
Yeah, exactly. You can, and then that just kind of be her style. You really need to, Marina. This is the opportunity to make Marina the badass that she should have been when she first came here. And I hope they do. I hope they go with that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And they've been really doing great so far with that. Debut last night. Very surprising. Prince Nana comes out and gives us a update on whose house? Swerve's house, and MVP himself. There were some rumors of him coming to AEW. Man, this guy was spitting some game on that mic last night. And it's someone that I didn't know that I really wanted him in AEW or needed him, but he was welcomed with open arms with what he showed last night. And I think we got some, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think there's a lot of smoke right now, and there's going to be a lot of fire very soon. The look on Nana's face is like he almost saw a ghost, but MVP was really spitting some truth too. Yes. And it's going to be interesting where this goes from there.
First of all, you better not lay a hand on Prince Nana, MVP, or you and I are going to have a problem. Hands off of my Prince Nana. Now, granted, you spit some truth, but Prince Nana is the best. He must be protected at all costs. However, this is going to be an incredible feud and an incredible debut, because we know with MVP, like you said, with there's smoke, there's fire. With MVP, you know who's coming also. Bobby friggin' Lashley. And
always
Bobby
been a fan
Lashley in AEW is going to be such a tremendous start. And maybe this could bring Miro back too, and we can have an actual legit match of Miro versus Bobby Lashley without the Lana mess, But that's a little side note. But also in addition to Bobby Lashley is Shelton Benjamin. And I know people were talking, because since Cedric Alexander, I think, is still with WWE, imagine pairing up. Now I was saying, imagine Powerhouse Hobbs with this crew, with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. But instead of Powerhouse Hobbs, who I actually think should go with Moxley and forget the Don Callis family, imagine you put a Lee Johnson or a Lee Moriarty, a younger talent that with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, you've got a really good Hurt Business, and going up against Swerve, this is going to be an incredible feud. And
how do you see this panning out, though?
Well, I don't know, and I know I think
that's what's exciting.
Lashley, is Bobby Lashley somebody you plug in to the the whole system, or do you have Jack Perry lose the TNT title to a surprise debut of Bobby Lashley?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I don't know.
And that'd be one great way to make a debut. But this one, really excited for the mic battles, the promo
Yep.
battles, and the obviously in-ring battles that this could bring forward. Now, I don't know and we don't know if Lashley or Benjamin or anyone else is going to be coming, but the writing is in the stars there, and just you following the history books. But it's going to be a big addition to the roster. I think a nice heavy heel group, led by someone not only who can go in the ring but also who can go on the mic with MVP. I was surprised by it, and I think it was welcomed, and I think it's going to be curious how this pans out, and if we're going to get Swerve back sooner than later now.
And you said it earlier too. You said the mic battles, like MVP on the mic versus Swerve on the mic, is going to be some epic entertainment. That's going to be cool. That's going to be cool. That I'm looking forward to that. All right. Hurt Business does it have to be all black wrestlers?
No.
What if, follow me on this, what if MVP makes a deal with the devil?
And then Swerve and MJF have a feud?
Yes.
Where they were having that little stuff backstage?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been known to make deals with, the devil's been known to play the fiddle and be, as we said, or as other people have said, he's playing chess while we're all playing checkers.
Yep.
So I don't know. I like your direction where you're talking of adding someone that's been established, may not have been used the best in AEW already, not necessarily just bringing an outside group in fresh.
Yeah.
Like adding someone who's been on the roster that may need a direction. Maybe is it Action Andretti because he's been kind of hinting for heel stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, he's been frustrated with
So it's someone that this is a great opportunity for someone to have that 360 and get an opportunity to be paired with someone new and give them a new direction.
Love it.
The women's match of the night, we had our champion Mariah May versus one of SPD's pick, Yuka Sakazaki, and we saw a lot of stuff after the match. Willow confront the champ, and then Mina come out and essentially inadvertently helping out Mariah May. Is that something that we're going to see a tag team down the line, or is what's going to happen is Mina is still confused? How are you feeling about this turmoil with surrounding Mariah May right now?
I think it's great, but I have a feeling we're ultimately building up to Mariah May versus Willow for the title. I think that's where we're heading.
Nope.
But I do love that Mina's back. I mean, I think Mina would be a great addition. Let's throw some money out there. I love the reluctance and kind of recognizing that she doesn't recognize. Back when Mina was with before the turn on Tony, Mina was kind of the instigator. It was kind of like they're fighting over Mariah. Now Mariah's become the pariah, if you will. Mariah the pariah. She's become kind of the bad guy, and Mina says, "I don't recognize you anymore." So I think we're going to eventually see a Mina versus Mariah match. We're going to see that feud. But I think as far as the title picture, I think we're getting ready to see this is a vehicle to put Willow in the title picture against Mariah May.
Yeah, as she should. I think it's right now Willow is one of the hottest baby faces in the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her to almost be the next in line for a feud, there goes my backpack. But then ultimately, I feel like then the person to dethrone would be Jamie Hayter. And so I feel like this is a chance for Willow to get that main event spotlight back that she's had and deserves, and keep the momentum on her side. Not necessarily dethrone Mariah, but then, after Jamie's done with Saraya and everyone around surrounding that, and then I feel like you throw Jamie Hayter into the title picture. So I think that's who I would want to be the next women's champ, for her to regain the championship. Even though she's already been the champion, she not necessarily, it wasn't, she lost it, yes, but she was injured. And so it was not like, you're really losing it. You're
Yeah,
essentially forfeiting it.
it's kind of like when Thunder had to vacate the
Right.
title too. Just real quickly on the Saraya rules. I know this is me overbooking, but I think it would have been funny if Harley Cameron said, "All right, we got these rules from a similar match at another company, and just say and it says Paige instead of Saraya on it, and say this is a Paige rules match, but just substitute Saraya for Paige, and like Harley accidentally got the original that says Paige on it instead of Saraya in the name." Because little known fact, Jamie Hayter's shoot name is Paige. So it would be funny if it turns out that it's a Paige rules match and the actual, girl, the only one that's actually named
Interesting.
Paige in this
Right.
match is actually Jamie Hayter. I know that's overbooking and swamp womp, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting way to kind of match that up. But this is gonna be
Yeah, I didn't know that was
yeah,
her real name.
but this is going to be an interesting battle. Of course, this is going to be one of those MJF trials kind of matches, but I think Jamie's going to somehow prevail. But
All
it's good
right.
stuff.
So I want to while we're wrapping up on our Dynamite recap, what did you think of? Because I have my thoughts on this moment of the night when Hook
Yeah,
retired the FTW title.
I think this was coming. I think that I think they've been listening to the fans, and I think the plan was whenever they decided to do it, this was the right place. I think the plan was to do it at Grand Slam, to do it in New York. I
Right.
think that's and I think that was the point, and I think that's why we did kind of get a bit of a handshake from Roderick Strong. Whether they're going to turn face or not, I think that was a good moment. It was almost like like a farewell. Thank you for letting me be the last opponent.
Right.
It's time. It's one of those things where I think a lot of fans are kind of like, is it, it's also time for Hook to move on. It's time for Hook to move on, but the FTW title without Taz or Hook involved really doesn't mean much anymore. You know what I mean? It does have that history, but it's kind of like it runs the risk of becoming the if you remember the hardcore title in
Mm-hmm.
WWE, it runs the risk of becoming that. And as Eddie Kingston says, hardcore matches shouldn't be its own division. Hardcore matches should be used to for blow-offs or used to up the antes. They should be used sparingly. And I think that the FTW title, it was a great way to retire it.
Right.
And it's time that Hook, maybe Hook shows up and challenges Jack Perry, or maybe, time to see Hook, go for a bigger gold.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the FTW title has long been overdue for something like this, and I wanted Jericho essentially to retire it when he won it, back 150 plus days ago. But the way that they let it ride off in the sunset, the way they did in its backyard, close to where it started, I felt like it was. I'm happy the way that ended. Like as a baby face, and someone who always likes a feel good story. I think it's time. It was time. It definitely plateaued Hook. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
kept him in a box, and that's okay because he needs time to develop still. Like there's still a couple moments where I was like, okay, like as good as he is in the ring, I felt like there was still a couple moments last night in the match. I was like, ooh, that was a little close or a little sketchy. Like
Yeah.
outside the ring when he smashed Roderick Strong's head on the barricade, when he like did the Russian leg sweep or whatever it was, I was like, ooh, that was Roddy did not look happy on that one.
No.
But I think it helped him get the spotlight and feature with that belt, make him feel a little bit more relevance and this special feature per se. Like, he gets the hook signal and all that. And now it's a time to release the handcuffs that he had with the FTW title and go for, something bigger picture. And I agree with you. I think that a TNT title would be something next in his spotlight. Or in his mirror. I don't think international title. I don't think continental, but I think TNT title would be something good to go after next, because him versus Perry would be a good match. I think obviously the size is very similar, and I think that would be a good match to have.
Cry me a river.
Yeah, exactly. So this was a good way to send it off. You know, Taz obviously was understandably emotional, and I think it was a great farewell to the FTW title. And I'm all for removing a belt from AEW television, and they've been doing good, not necessarily featuring Ring of Honor belts too much on TV, and just focusing on what the AEW has, and it's on that. I know we got a little time. So as I mentioned before, the booking of the belts, since there's just a few of us in the chat, to finish that off, maybe you had time to finish or think about it, but the remainder belts we had to book were the tag titles, the trios title, the TBS, and the Continental Championship. So we can go back and forth. If you want to pick one, mine, then I'll pick one as well.
I'll go back to what I was saying. I think it's time. Pull the trigger. Outrunners tag team champions.
Outrunners tag team champions. Okay, for tag team champions, you know, I'm still set on mine. I think a team, after what I saw last night, a team like Fletcher and Osprey, aka or the Empire, and Davis and Fletcher, who is a true team and someone returning, would be a formidable champion. And I want someone new as well. Like as great as FTR and Young Bucks having repeat runs, like even though they are at the top of the food chain in the tag division, I would like to see Davis and Fletcher, or oh man, I'm trying to think who hasn't won it. Like
Top Flight.
Yeah,
Party.
I would say, I mean, right now I feel like Private Party is very at the bottom of the depth chart, but early on, about years past, I was a huge fan of them. So I'm waiting for them to regrow back up there.
Yeah.
TBS title. So TBS title, I would pick for mine. I would put a baby face on there. Actually, you know what? I would like to see Athena make the jump to that and get that TBS title spotlight on AEW television.
I was actually thinking that it's time for Thunder Rosa to be the first to have held both the TBS and the world title, you know, to get that history moment and have Thunder Rosa grab that. The alternate would be for I think I think that's where to go, you know, because you've got I think I'll stay with that. I'll stay with Thunder Rosa.
Okay. So I would the trios championships, which we'll find out a lot more after Collision of what's going on, if they're gonna, you know, settle their differences. Is Wheeler going to be just there on the apron and not fight and just still be a trios champ? Are they going to forfeit him? There's a lot at stake at the trios division. So if I had to pick a trios champ booking the belts, SPD, I would put them back on House of Black, just because they're so much fun. They're just such a draw every time they have a match. Or I would do the Conglomeration.
The word of the day is Conglomeration. Yeah.
So those are two teams I think would be very exciting to have.
I agree with both of those choices. I was going to say House of Black myself. I think, I feel bad. I wish that House of Black was treated much more like almost like Road Warriors, you know, like, you know, we're treated like, you know, that they need to be the oh shit tag team or group.
Right.
When they show up, whether it's Buddy Matthews or Malachi Black or Brody King, there needs to be that like, oh crap moment. Like, oh, they're gonna dominate, and they need to get back to that moment. And I don't feel like they're there anymore. And you know, I think if they just give them the trios titles, let them be the final bosses in the trios division. Let all these other trios battle out for number one contendership, and then just get destroyed by the House of Black. And then you can build up a story where that one team finally gets it. Or was it Kingdom? What's the trio's name for Will Ospreay and them again? It's
Aussie Open?
No, not Aussie
United
Open.
Empire?
United Empire. Have
Yeah.
United Empire finally be the trios
True.
that shows up. I mean, because here's the thing: is if House of Black's beating everybody, but then suddenly you've got Will Ospreay, who's arguably the current ace of AEW.
Yep.
Then you've got yourself a true battle, and just seeing
Right.
them, Malachi with his kicks versus Will Ospreay's flips and kicks. It would be such a tremendous match. I mean, Ospreay versus Buddy Matthews, Kyle Fletcher versus Buddy Matthews, just everybody. And then, Mark Davis is a big dude. So Mark versus Brody King would be some meat. I think
it would mesh so well, those two teams. Yeah, that would be fantastic stuff. Book it. Last one, Continental Champion. Who would you want to see hold that title?
All right, now is the Continental Champion, is that Okada or is he international?
Okada,
okay. I think he's not. I don't think it's going to happen this time, but I actually would like to see Sammy with that.
Okay.
I think Sammy needs some gold, and he's already done the TNT run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and of course, he's got the ROH tag with Dustin. And I think, that's kind of Dustin taking him under his wing, and whatever backstage controversy is going on, Dustin's kind of got him on his protection.
Good.
I'd like to see Sammy. Of course, Orange Cassidy, you can always put, I know you're so sick of that. But those are not my answers. My answer is probably yours. But I think what the fans want, you got to give the people what they want. You probably know where I'm going with this. Is probably where you're going. Everybody wants, we got to see it from two different Japanese promotions, but we got to get a taste. But I think we need Okada versus Takeshita. And I'd like to see Takeshita win the Continental title.
Yeah, right there, Bobby, you too, Takeshita. I think Takeshita would be great and finally reward him with his awesome stuff he's been doing. I was kind of going Takeshita. I had three options for this, and two were kind of off the wall. And Takeshita was one. Another one was Big Bill, and then another one was Jeff Jarrett.
Oh,
Slapnuts.
There you go.
So
Slapnuts versus Okada would be a great feud too.
Well, and just like him having the belt, and maybe he could do cross promotion stuff, and I don't know. It would just be interesting, and maybe a kind of a thank you. But I don't know. Like if you have babyface Jarrett now feuding with whomever, what's going to happen after this lumberjack strap match versus Hangman? So I don't know.
It's interesting too, because both the Continental and the International titles, I want them to go when Pac had the North
Atlantic champion. Yeah.
He was defending that in other countries. He was defending that around. I think that's what they need to do, is whether it's the Continental or the, have both the Continental and the International. Like the Continental can just, you can go to Mexico and Canada and defend it. I think they need to be defended outside of AEW.
Right, agree.
And, whereas TNT is always defended on AEW programming, the world title is always going to be that's the big cream, that's big platinum.
Sure.
And the same for like the women's. I think the women's main title should be just like the big platinum for the men's. Let the TBS title be more of the workhorse title.
Sure.
Even though Mercedes is kind of hanging on to it, but you need those out promotions. Let the Continental. It'd be great. Jeff Jarrett going down to CMLL and defending his Continental title.
All right.
At the CMLL, or have the International title. You can go to England, Japan. I think there'd be a lot of cool stuff there.
Got us thinking. Got the wheels turning for sure. And if you didn't see us at the beginning of the show, we'll throw up the standings, the current standings as we stand after Dynamite, and we still have 3 hours of television. This is where we're at with the points, and we'll have everyone's going to be on the board, I presume, by this time next week. But because look at this card we have for the rest of the week. I mean, Rampage has got, I think, 4 or 5 matches already announced. and we still have half
that
of this
one
card.
at the bottom.
Yeah, we still got half of this card to go. We got this triple threat lucha libre match. We got the women's match, Saraya Rules. We got obviously Okada versus Sammy. Speaking of the Continental Championship match, Jack Perry TNT Championship match, Tornadoes Trios. I mean, this one's going to be brutal. Jeff Jarrett and Hangman. So a lot of great stuff coming to Collision on Saturday. So this is definitely, looking at this card for Grand Slam, it is a junior pay-per-view. It is everything a pay-per-view has except being paid for. Exactly. So I'm going to be buckled up and tuned into Collision, and we will talk to you guys next week on Dynamite Download episode 149 with a whole new standings as we continue draft season 4. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm going to be I hear it in the outside over here, the rain pouring in here,
you have
the
to
hurricane.
buckle down.
That's
Should we let Fashion Week take us out this time?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have Fashion Week take us out.
Remember, be fabulous, little puppies. We'll see you next time.